Folks, welcome to the next section of Business Communication 2204. So today we're going to be talking about paraphrasing, summarizing, and I'm going to give you opportunities to practice, and we're going to talk about the purpose of why we do these things. So I'm going to check in every week and see how you folks are. First, I want to acknowledge that you will be hearing people in the background. My kids are also home for the next 3 weeks with me. My husband's also home, so my household's a little more loud than it was yesterday when they were out. If you hear background noise, I apologize. But how are you folks doing? How's the content sitting with you? Is there anything that I have gone over last lecture or this lecture that you're not sure of, that you're confused about? Are there any questions? I know you folks are still probably feeling stresses. I'm just finding the update out that we're not now going till March 23rd, and we're supposed to be going online after that. So I'm hoping that I get my content posted up before that, and that gives you folks the opportunity to kind of get my courses done and out of the way. How's your time management going? I know a few of you had expressed to me that you find it difficult to be in your own homes or around people when you study. How are you adapting? So for myself, what I'm doing is I have headphones that I use to transcribe with, and I am now using those headphones to kind of block out noise when I need to get my work done. I'm not even putting on music. I'm just trying to ignore whoever else is around in my house. So we're looking at different tips and strategies. Let me know how things are going. Remember to stretch, guys. Remember to get up and move around throughout the day. It's important to remember your physical as well as your mental health, especially if we're going to be confined to smaller spaces for the next few weeks. We want to make sure that you get outside, get sunshine, go for a walk. They're not recommending, Health Canada is not recommending that you don't go outside. They're recommending social distancing, so contact with other people. You can still go out for walks, you can go around the park, you can go on trails. Those are all open and available to you. Just remember to take care of yourself over the next couple weeks, and if you need any access to any of these resources, just keep in mind that I do have them available. I'm able to speak to you folks and try and keep you updated on what's happening, and my policy, as always, will be when I know, you'll know what's going on. Reminders and assignments. Reminder for some of the alerts. Sorry about that, folks. I'm still learning how to do, oh, geez, there I go again. I'm still learning how to do this at the same time you folks are. So if I screwed these up, I apologize. I am doing my best with the technology that I've got. So let's go back to the content. Reminders and assignments. Don't forget that summary writing piece that's replacing your assignment number 3 is going to be due on April the 6th. It's going to take about 15% of your final mark now. And because we're converting it over to only 15%, again, keep up that 750, I think it is, word limit. I'm going to pull up the assignment right now and just double check. Make sure that you're around that. I'm not going to penalize people for over or under by about 100 words, but other than that, I do expect about 600 to about, let's say, 1,000 words on your topic. The other thing I want to really remind you folks of is the grammar modules. So what I've done is I'm opening up all of the grammar modules once again because I've changed the weighting that they're going to count towards your final grade. Originally, they were 15%, so 7.5 for modules 1 through 5, and 7.5% for modules 6 through 9. What is happening now is that they've gone from 15% of your final up to 20%, make it less work on you folks again. So to make it fair for those that did miss the grammar modules originally, I've reopened them again. So all grammar modules are now due on April 18th. If you cannot find them, check the content area of our course. If you cannot find it there, go under DC Connect, check the quizzes section, and you'll see the tests there. Remember, it's the final tests that are the ones that count for the grade. So try and go through the modules so that you get the practice tests as many times as you can, but if you're absolutely stuck, you can find those under the quizzes section as well. What I want you folks to do now is I want you to create a 5-minute paper. And we've been playing with those a lot during this semester. I really like 5-minute papers. They are things that kind of get you to think really quickly, and I find sometimes when you're forced to do them with a timer, you're discerning and shifting through a lot of information, and a lot of the relevant stuff comes out, and you leave a lot of the irrelevant or unimportant stuff out to the side. So what I want you to do is in this discussion 5-minute paper, I want you to answer the question, what have we discussed concerning written communication so far? What did you find interesting and what did you already know? So this is just a summary activity again, working on those summarization skills. I'm going to post a section in DC Connect under the discussion, and I'd like you folks to actually post your answers. I'm going to put it so it's anonymous so that we can compile our learning and we can see kind of where people are struggling, where people are comfortable, where we need to go kind of forward from here. And what I'm hoping to do is in the next couple weeks, provide you folks with some resources so that when you do have your final papers or tests or assessments coming up in your other classes, you'll be able to not lose marks for things like spelling, grammar, punctuation, and usual business practice writing. So if you haven't already done so, make your way over to DC Connect, find that discussion. It's going to be, what have we discussed so far? I think that's going to be the title of it. You're going to find it on that DC Connect discussions page. And I would recommend pausing the recording right now, setting yourself up a timer, and use your phone, use an egg timer, it doesn't matter, and going ahead and doing that 5-minute discussion now. Okay, so once you've done doing that 5-minute discussion post, next we're going to look at how to move into the art of summarization and paraphrasing. We have to discuss what we've already talked about so far. So some of the topics that we've covered in the previous week include tailoring your message, knowing your audience, paragraph, a unit of idea, not a unit of length, writing mechanics, netiquette, email creation, and the suggested content of that email. And again, I'm going to create its own document for that email creation so that we're all on the same page for that. So last week we touched on summarizing, paraphrasing with our in-class activity of describing your favorite movie. You folks did an amazing job on this. And what we saw there was the ability to take what would be a 2 or 3 hour movie and condense it down to 5 to 8 sentences. And it was the writing portion of that that was really important. What you take away from the movie and write about to make it so that the rest of us could guess. The art of summarization or paraphrasing is one that we leave until the end of our writing units. Writing is difficult enough. Writing concisely in the way that we summarize is an art that is learned only through practice. The skill is incredibly important. Have you ever been in a conversation where the other person goes off on a long tangent or story, and when they reach the end, you feel like saying, well, you could have said that right from the start? We lose our audiences very quickly these days. The average attention span has been reduced from the 1990s when it was around 2 minutes to being an average of 45 seconds in 2015. Summarizing is a useful skill when you are about to write a business report. If you're able to summarize the problem and the purpose of your report, you have already identified the major issues to be resolved in your writing. I recommend brevity. Brevity is key to successful summarization. As Kevin from The Office said, why waste time say lot word when few word do trick? While Kevin's intentions are clear, his message is not. Be sure not to sacrifice clarity for brevity. Make sure that what you are saying makes sense, and don't just chop up your idea for the sake of making it shorter. So what is a summary? A summary is information distilled to its essentials, including the key points, but without the examples and details. The words have changed from the original use, but the idea remains. You're not using a word-for-word quote from what you have read. You're taking what the whole theme or idea is of whatever you're reading or watching or trying to pitch, and you're summarizing it or discerning it and writing it into a very compact unit. Why is it important to know how to summarize? Knowing how to summarize helps reading skills specifically, and it gives you the ability to gather the important details. It increases your vocabulary skills because oftentimes we repeat ourselves in language, which I am very guilty of. But when you summarize, you're trying to find different words for an idea to give it context. So instead of repeating sun is yellow and bright, I would say the source of energy from Earth is one that we see in the day and not so much at night, and it's a big yellow ball that provides warmth and light to the Earth. Same kind of thing, said in a different way. Summarization skills actually help to improve our critical thinking. A lot of employers continue to say that students that we've graduated need more critical thinking skills. Knowledge-based skills are one thing. You can get the information and regurgitate it, but it's the application of that knowledge that we see and we are told by our employee partners that we need to improve in our students. So one of these critical thinking skills is determining what the main idea of any writing is. Summarization also improves your writing skills if you're writing your own summary, because again, you're practicing language. And this also helps to reinforce with us that not everyone needs all the details. We tend to overshare or give too much back and put out too much in our world today. So this is a great skill to practice because it will just give you just the facts. We're asking for just the facts. So think, in pop culture, remember I asked you, how long are the Lord of the Rings movies, Titanic, Avengers Endgame movies? They're around 3 hours each, or both of the Harry Potter movies for book 7 put together. If someone asked you to tell you about that movie, would you talk to them for those 3 hours? No, you would give them a synopsis, that brief overview of what happened. There's a few steps to summarizing. You're going to listen to or read the information first. And when you do that, you're going to start trying to pick up keywords or key themes that are happening. Write down or underline the main ideas as you listen and read. So this is basically what we used to do in lectures. It used to be 3 hours of a professor talking, and you folks would be writing down or listening to the information. And when something pops up that's very important, you circle it, highlight it, or underline it. How do you know if it's important? We say if you follow the 5 W's and 1 H, the who, what, why, where, when, and how of what they're talking about, then you will be able to find the information needed to summarize. Summaries usually answer the who, the why, the what, the where, the when, the how. Make sure that when you are listening or reading and looking for the summary, you're paying attention to the order of sentences and making connections with transition words. So even in your summarization, the ands, but, for, anything under the fanboys that we discussed would be something that you want to use in your summary to link those ideas together. Do not copy from text or do not copy verbal information word for word. This is a quotation, not a summarization. Make sure to include the ideas that you think are important. The other thing keep in mind is that when writing summaries from someone else's work, so if you're paraphrasing and putting it into your own essay or written paper, you need to provide that in-text citation. The formatting of the citation will differ with citation styles, which we've already discussed, but the information is the same. You always have to make sure that you give credit to the original author. So what I'm going to do now as practice is I'm going to read you a few paragraphs. Listen to me, but feel free to take notes of main points if you think it might be helpful. Do not try to summarize as you are listening. Once I've finished speaking, please write a 1-paragraph summary. So, I suggest you either pause this lecture right now or open up a word processing document on another screen. If you're able to do bilateral screens, that's wonderful, or extended screens. If not, grab a piece of paper. I'm about to start reading a couple paragraphs, and this is a business writing suggestion on how to improve business writing. So I'm also going to open up a discussion post, and its title for the discussion post is going to be Good Business Writing Takes Time. And I want you to post what you think I am saying into that discussion post, and we're going to compare everyone's answers. So here we go. I'm beginning now. Good business writing takes time. Following the steps outlined below will ensure you answer the question and/or solve the problem your report was intended to address, and it will help ensure that your report is well received. 1. Analyze the problem and the purpose. 2. Consider the audience. 3. Prepare a work plan. 4. Conduct research and document data. 5. Organize and analyze the draft. 6. Write the first draft. 7. Revise and proofread the report. Analyze the problem and the purpose. Ask what the issue is and what caused the issue to arise. Make a clear statement that identifies a question your report will answer or the problem your report will solve. Use this focused statement to stay on track. Consider whether the report is informative, a report of what happened, or analytical, a report that offers a recommendation. Consider the audience. Ask who the report is intended for and who else might read it. Identify whether the report is for internal or external purposes. Determine who the stakeholders are, who will make the decisions, and what decisions might be made. Ascertain the level of knowledge of the readers. Consider what your readers know and what they need to know. Prepare a work plan. Determine what information you need to gather. Preliminary work for this is done when determining the purpose of the report. Consider the problem, purpose, audience, resources needed, research strategy, and the report outline when preparing a schedule. So now what I want you to do is stop this presentation and write down what you think the summary could be for this. So you've probably taken some notes on what I've said. What I want you to do is in 5 to 8 sentences, I want you to tell me exactly what the whole meaning of what I just read was. The overall gist. So again, we're looking for those key themes, the things that kept repeating, the things that made it stand out, or the whole intent. Who was this reading meant for? What was I saying? That sort of thing. Keep in mind that many of us are not able to write down what is being said verbatim, so this is a great way to practice your summarization skills. You need to be fast, so the most useful information makes it into your notes when I read at a steady pace. I'm going to suggest that you actually try this with your lecture notes. Not only is it practice for this essential skill, but it also helps you to make more thorough notes. It also aids in memory conciliation and retention in the brain. Writing instructions. This one in business is very important. So let's say you come up with a product or a gadget or a service, and you're not going to be the only one providing that service or that product. Let's say you've come up with a really fancy schmancy new prototype of a fitness watch, like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, but yours does something different. How are consumers or clients going to know how to work it? That comes through the act of writing instructions. So we need instructions in many areas in business. You will likely need to provide instructions to someone at some point in your career. Having to write them down makes you consider the conciseness and clarity that's required for them. Writing instructions has a need for direct writing, something we all need to practice. So again, we're getting rid of those details. Good instruction writing requires clear and simple writing, a thorough understanding of the procedure or the information you're providing, your ability to put yourself in the place of the reader who is trying to use your instructions. Does this make sense to the reader? If I was reading this for the first time, would I understand it? This also works on your ability to explain visuals and words if no images are available. Remember to consider your audience first. Who will use these instructions? You're going to write very differently for a group of millennials than you would for people who are 65 and older. Can they read the language you are using? Is everyone going to be an English as a first language person who reads your instructions? Are they going to be as English as second language learners or second language speakers in your audience? Are these people professionals, or are they people that you hung out with in high school? Are these the folks that are living on the streets, or are these the people that are in the boardrooms and who are CEOs of company? Do they have a good understanding of the content already, and these instructions are just added information? Sometimes your instructions are just a supplement to something that's already occurred. Maybe there's a video, maybe there's already audio, maybe the product is relatively self-explanatory, and these are just supplemental instructions to help those that might get stuck. Is the content completely new to them, and they need to get a background and detailed instructions? How much detail is too much? Will visuals help, and are you able to provide them? The process is difficult, but one that takes practice. When writing instructions, you want to ensure you include all the relevant information, but also not not too much information that the reader will become confused. Be open to editing your instructions after you initially write them. You may need to reduce them. Cuts into phases will reduce the number of steps needed. Have you ever seen a set of instructions with 130 steps? It can be daunting and people may try to avoid using the instructions at all. Always number your instructions to keep people on track. Numbers help people to follow along, and they are more universal symbols than letters in some languages. Make sure to keep your terminology consistent and accessible. The reader needs to know the terms you are using and understand them well enough to use them. Ensure your instructions line up with the product. For an example, have you received instructions on how to use a piece of technology, let's say a computer, and they reference the function keys on the keyboard, but the function portion of the key is the secondary function of that key? Or a remote that refers to a quote-unquote menu button, but on the actual remote it is called settings. That is a very common mistake that many people in business make. You want to use bold and or underlining for emphasis if it's needed. You want to use commanding language, like press the pause button on the remote to stop the display temporarily. Don't be wishy-washy. If you want to pause, then you would need to touch the pause button. It doesn't sound the same. Be concise in your sentences. Sometimes point form can be best. Use second person pronouns here. So we've been avoiding a lot of personal pronouns. Cool. Most instructions will include the following elements to ensure the user has the best opportunity at using them. A title. Be descriptive but concise. Introduction paragraph to the product. What is the reader going to learn about? What will be covered in these instructions? And what is required of the reader? Equipment, supplies, or tools needed. What will the reader need to complete these instructions successfully? How many? Do they need to provide anything? Headings for each phase of instructions. This helps to break up steps and text. Actual instructions using a numbering system. So that concludes our discussion about summarizing and paraphrasing. So now is a great time that we work into talking about the summative writing assignment, which is now your assignment number 3. So what this is the synopsis or the summary about what you had started to research for assignment 3, the group presentation. You're going to use that topic, and you're going to create about a 750-word paper that expresses your views and reflects what the research has told you about the topic. Tell me why your topic is important to the topic of business communications. What makes it relevant? Take the research that you've already started to do and include it in APA or MLA citation format into your paper. You need to have at least 3 reliable sources. If I looked at your group contract and proposal, I would tell you if they were reliable or appropriate. At least one of them should be a primary source, including a peer-reviewed journal or a credible news source, so something like the Toronto Star, Globe and Mail, the National Post, Canadian Press. Any of those news sources are considered credible. Things like the National Enquirer are not. Ensure that this assignment is dropped into the Assignment 3 Dropbox, which is now called Assignment 3, or summary paper or summarization paper, by April 6th at 11:59 p.m. Remember, it's your choice what you decide to include in this particular paper. I'm not asking for any specific material other than you tell me what you know about the topic and what you've researched and read so far. So as a summary for this week, paraphrasing and summarizing are both skills that take time to acquire. I want you to try summarizing your class notes after each lecture into 5 to 8 sentences. This is great practice for you to be able to begin that really difficult skill to master. Summarizing helps us to keep our audience engaged. We keep it brief and to the point. Next week, or next topic, I should say, we will be talking about presentation skills, and I'm going to talk about tips and tricks that can help you to relax prior to and during presentations. So again, folks, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, anything, please feel free to reach out to me. You know my email address is melissa.dodson@durhamcollege.ca. I'm available to answer as swiftly as I possibly can, and I hope you folks have a wonderful day. See you in the next lecture.